Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pitstop February 2022 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What's rolling out now for SharePoint and related technology in Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager on the Microsoft 365 marketing team, here to help you set the ongoing record straight. This month, I talk with Raju Nagalinga, Principal Program Manager here at Microsoft, focused on Microsoft Graph connectors in connection to Microsoft Search. I caught up with Raju to learn about two new connectors for Jira and Confluence. Plus, we got a little bit of a behind-the-scenes peek at the broader ways to connect your various content sources for a more holistic, pervasive end-user search results experience. End quote. Beyond connecting your content sources, we're going to focus on everything that rolled out this month, a few related items, and the always fun teasers looking into the crystal ball of next month. We may not have leapt that extra day this February 2022, but it was a packed month nonetheless. So this episode is your 30-minute leap ahead of that ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. It is the year of the tiger, and we had that day of the groundhog, and even though that little critter didn't see its shadow this year, we are closing in on just a few more weeks of winter left. So as the all-powerful TV god Khrushchev said in The Truman Show, cue the sun! It's time to kick back and get informed about all the technology that rolled out in February 2022. First up, we will narrow our sights on the broader spectrum of employee experiences, that multiple ways of communicating throughout your intranet, and ways that we, month after month, provide you with new technology or update capabilities so that you have that great two-way engagement across your intranet. First item up, there are now new content scenarios that the My Feed web part will provide, and that's in SharePoint when you use the My Feed web part. This web part is essentially the pathway to a very personalized experience throughout your intranet. You can add the My Feed web part to a broader communication site, one like a home site, or one that you deem as the broader intranet in Teams, aka Viva Connections. And it's this feed that knows who is signed in and shows them content and activities that are relevant to them. This particular update brings the following into the My Feed feed. First up, suggested tasks. These are tasks or actions that you have requested by or are for you, things that you promised somebody else to do, as in reference in an email. These will pull tasks out of those email conversations. Next, there will be people highlights. This brings in things like birthdays, work anniversaries, or a change of role for people that you work with. This information is only visible for those who have chosen to share it on LinkedIn. And the last thing is it'll bring in meetings that are out of routine to bring them to attention. These are meetings that are scheduled in Teams or Outlook and are out of your normal working hours. So this allows you and your users to either request for a reschedule or act on a meeting as appropriate. People will be able to see these updates on different file collaborative activities, stay up to speed on what things they need to take action on, or just to view upcoming meetings and recordings of those meetings maybe that they didn't attend. A lot of goodness coming to the My Feed web part to keep you apprised of what's going on throughout your intranet. Next up, Viva Topics can now leverage Syntex taxonomies to help you generate topics. So this is Microsoft Viva Topics and SharePoint Syntex working together for customers, for you to be able to then build on existing investments in classifying and organizing content with the ability to use the taxonomy service in Syntex and SharePoint to generate topics. This new integration uses the term names, including those you are already using with SharePoint Syntex, descriptions, synonyms, and tagged files to create topics that the artificial intelligence, the AI, can use to seed to discover additional connections with people and files. In essence, this helps you build out topics at scale with standardized inputs that you already have put a good enough amount of planning behind and have already implemented to build off of the investments that you've already made. So again, Viva Topics plus SharePoint Syntex, specifically building off of topics from known term sets in your taxonomy. Last will lead us into our discussion with Raju to talk more about the Microsoft Graph connectors, specifically new this month for Jira and Confluence. Microsoft has released and is starting to release these two new connectors for Atlassian Confluence and Jira. With the Microsoft Graph connector for Confluence Cloud, you would be able to index and search for Confluence pages and blogs from any of the Microsoft search endpoints like Bing, SharePoint, Office.com, etc. Similarly, with the Graph connector for Jira Cloud, you would be able to index and search for Jira issues and tickets. You can configure Graph connectors from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and I will point to you in the blog to some new great documentation for both Confluence and Jira connectors so that you can learn more about the setup process. A lot more information about connectors all up. There's certainly a history already of a lot of available connectors. And with that, let's take a pause and talk with Raju Nagalinga about the recent innovation and some of the ways that we've paved for a lot of innovations over the years to make it so that you can connect from a search perspective to those additional sources of content and bring them in to a much more holistic Microsoft search experience. All right, so it is that time where we want to learn a little bit more about what goes behind the technology and how our engineers, our program managers, actually kind of think about design and some of the issues and problems they're trying to solve. So we're going to turn our attention now to talk to Raju Nagalinga. He is on our search team, and we're going to kind of go through kind of where we are now and how we got there with connectors and a lot more. Raju, welcome to the IntraZone.
Hey, Mark. Good to be here.
I appreciate your time, and I'll have to admit, this is one of those areas where I feel like I know some things, but not a lot, and especially when you get to the depths of kind of the how it works. The value of what it's doing, I get 100%, but I'm really interested to hear how you and your team go about kind of making it work. Before we dive into the technology, give everybody a little brief on who Raju is and what you do here at Microsoft.
Hey folks, I'm Raju. I'm a product manager on the Microsoft Graph Connectors platform team. We built an integration platform that powers several intelligent experiences, ranging from Microsoft Search and all the way to a few experiences like Topics, Context IQ, eDiscovery, and more. We will be chatting about that soon.
When you say Microsoft Graph, it makes me think of a couple of things. And I want to throw in just a little bit of historical context, too, for our audience who has sometimes been with us on this long journey of SharePoint. And through acquisition, we know in the past there was the big acquisition from a search perspective with FAST. And that was our team in Norway and all of their technologies that really gave us that really accelerated way to enable, at the time, on-premises search. And the important thing was not only was it fast, but it also had its tendrils into SharePoint and beyond. And I think that and beyond is what you're really modernizing and enabling in the cloud. Is that fair to say not only there's a history to search, but where FAST leads us to? You know, how would you think about the little history of whether it's FAST or Microsoft Graph and the innovations there that just bring us to today and describing what connectors are?
It's great to see that you brought the key piece of history. The Microsoft Search and connectors pretty much are rooted in some of the work that was started decades ago with FAST. All the learnings from FAST and the Bing search engine are coming together and allowing us to bring Microsoft Search as a standalone enterprise search product for customers.
So if the end user, who's getting the benefit of doing a search and getting a set of search results, out of the box, there is, of course, the search of OneDrive. There's the search that we have in Teams across a lot of different content types, lists and pages and documents and document libraries. And of course, that's all well and good. But when you start to look at the broader suite, there is that kind of expectations of seeing more content. And with our customers who are taking that search level and customizing it, what are they using connectors for? Maybe you can give us a couple examples of what connectors we already have in market and just that value of what that enables for customers to be able to do.
Today, we have connectors to some of the most popular data sources. The most commonly used ones are indexing enterprise websites, whether it be on-premise intranet websites or websites hosted in the cloud, Windows file shares, and cloud services like Dynamics, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Confluence, and Jira. So these are some of the most popular sources. And in addition to these, we also have connectors to index content from general purpose data sources like databases, whether it be a SQL database or Oracle database. You readily have a connector for those.
It really is for customers to find when people go looking for content and they know what content sources they have. Some might be Microsoft 365 based, some might be on premises, some might be, like you described, third-party sources. But it's in aggregate. If a customer is invested in multiple technologies, the value to the end user is to be able to then search and find essentially what they're looking for, but not have it be a limited subset of content. What are some of the complexities when our customers are basically either building a connector, because I know there's that capability, or just leveraging what we do out of the box? I think people would just be interested to know what goes into building a connector. Even if we make it easy, connector's ready, now use it. I think everybody's always interested in how does a connector work?
Today, we offer 3 key ways to connect. One is with the help of connectors that are bundled out of the box by Microsoft. There's close to 13 of them today, and the list is slowly growing. And secondly, we have a partner ecosystem, which contributes to close to 160 connectors, which pretty much covers every single data source on the planet. There are also customers who have line of business applications and who try to build their own custom connectors using our Graph APIs. It's fairly straightforward to index content. It's a very simple REST API to push your content in. The key part where customers spend a lot of cycles is replicating the permissions from the data source onto the search index. For example, building connected to a data source like Confluence. Confluence doesn't have a simple permission model. Most data sources fall in the Windows NT style permission model, and many of them don't even have like allow and deny. They usually have the allow permissions. But when it comes to content data sources like ServiceNow and Confluence, there's some additional work the connected developer would have to do in replicating the permissions from the source system onto the index. And we provide certain set of tooling around it. We provide what we call as external groups, which allow developers to take groups and group-like constructs from these external data sources, move them over in the context of the index. These groups don't manifest in AAD, so they don't pollute your corporate AAD directory. So these are completely in the context of the search index and solely used for permissioning. These are the set of things that we have done to make it easy for anyone to go build their own connector.
I mean, I heard a couple of things in there that I think are really important. One is that there are permission models that we work through to make sure that the connectors work, but also the value, as it's always been with the graph, with search, with any experience around how people discover content, there is always the match of, do you have access to this content? We're helping people make connections to different systems, but there's always the permissions that's in place that's based on the user, the individual that signed in. I searched for X. I found something in Confluence. You're always going to get that check, though. Do I have access or permissions to be able to view that content? And I think that's important always, no matter what you do with the connector, whether it was easy to make the connection or some systems, we certainly have to do a little bit more development. The other thing I heard, which I think is really important, I know it's been true for a while now, but it was for a while with the Microsoft Graph where people, and the way that we delivered it initially was, it was mostly you could pull content out of the graph and build your own custom logic and ways that you wanted to present that material. But for a long time, it was not available to be able to push content in or through the graph. But really, that's the value of connectors. Whether you know about the graph or not, it's being able to put more content in. You had mentioned one of the examples, which is one of the aspects of connectors that we released this month, which is that connection to Confluence. There's another one, if you don't mind briefly just describing or talking about the Jira connector.
Both the Atlassian connectors, Jira as well as Confluence, we focused on the cloud customers to begin with. The initial variants that we released connect to the Atlassian cloud and index content from those. We are working on making the connection to Jira server and Confluence on-prem available fairly soon.
It seems like you're on path, both with what Microsoft does for our customers. There is the broader partner ecosystem or the community that are building their own connectors. And of course, if there is the need to something that maybe isn't a line of business application that everybody leverages, but if it has its own surface to be able to reach out to and essentially connect with, there are the ways to customize and create connectors for whatever it is that people need. So we've talked a lot about history and present day. Maybe in the last minute or two, we can talk about the future. Anything that you are willing to share or is okay to share about the future of connectors?
In regards to connectors and search, there are two exciting things that are coming up. One is search for connected content right from within Microsoft Teams. And the other one, which is my favorite, is being able to search for any content throughout your org right from your Windows search bar. So both of those would be available in preview towards the second half of this year. So far, we mostly talked about search, but the reason we called it Graph Connectors, I'll probably accept some context into that and share a glimpse of what else is coming for customers. The way we envision the platform, we see Microsoft Graph as the data fabric that is powering a lot of intelligent experiences. So by default, all the Microsoft content, whether it's conversations in your Outlook or Teams, SharePoint files, or OneDrive files, are all present in the Microsoft Cloud. We offer a whole bunch of value-added services on top of it, whether it be search, security and compliance, intelligent experiences like content recommendations in the Office Hub, or Context IQ, which was the most recent announce that happened at the last Ignite. The way we envision Graph Connectors is allowing a platform that allows customers to bring in any content from any data source, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, into Microsoft Graph and benefit from all these value-added services that are available, that have been exclusive for Microsoft 365 content. With this, we would have connected content, whether it be your Jira tickets or ServiceNow knowledge base articles that get recommended in your Viva topic recommendations, show up in e-discovery search, extending the M365 grade security and compliance to third-party data sources. And in the content recommendations, when you're composing a message in Outlook or Teams or using Microsoft Editor, you would be able to search and insert records right there. So it's not just a pure workplace search problem that we're looking at, but we are trying to build the platform in a way it caters to all the search and discovery needs of the customers in the context of where they work.
I think that's important. I know the direction that both Microsoft and I think some of our either partners or even competition is headed in that direction of providing more personalized experiences and some that are more smart. And I think the work that we do, you mentioned Viva Topics, and of course the value of a whole host of experiences within the Viva suite across SharePoint, OneDrive, Stream, Yammer that leverages the Microsoft Graph is to do just that, to pull out relevant content that's relevant to you, whomever signed in, or relevant to the topic or the information associated to content and people. I think it's interesting what you mentioned. I didn't know about the work with the graph and the Context IQ. And just for clarity, that is kind of the new capability to be able to type ahead and you'll see suggestions pop up. And like Raju said, then maybe it'll put in a link to a Jira ticket. And that's pretty powerful. That doesn't mean you go out into Jira, grab some link or some content and copy paste it. It's right where you're working, kind of in the thought as you're typing. And to see that on Viva topic cards or as type ahead suggestions, that's not an easy task, both to wire up on the back end and to get the user interface right. So I'm sure your team is doing a lot of work with the Office and the different application team that from a design perspective. And of course, a lot of back end trickery or wizardry is what I will think of it. So that's a pretty busy future. I think even tackling what we covered as what you've been doing for the last few years has been complex and tricky. So my hat's off to you. I know the value of search in this space. Anything that you would want to say, just if you think about somebody who is in Microsoft 365 and searching, give things a try or things to be excited about for search, and then we'll close it out.
For the customers who are listening, they can go ahead and try out connectors. Connectors are available in the search and intelligence section of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. For all E5 customers, there is sufficient quota for them to go try. And all the rest of the customers would have can avail for a free trial to go try out connectors.
Awesome. Well, thank you for connecting with me about connectors today on the Interzone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Mac.
So the first item in teamwork is the pairing naming convention between Teams channels and the corresponding SharePoint folders in that connected document library. This new release will update the channel rename experience in Teams to simultaneously rename the corresponding folder in SharePoint sites whenever a channel in Teams is renamed. This will roll out in Teams desktop and web. Just got 2 notes. Anything that was renamed from a legacy perspective in Teams won't get updated automatically. When a legacy channel is renamed after this release, it will simultaneously rename the corresponding SharePoint folder. But if you've renamed something in the past, those won't automatically get updated. Also, upon renaming a channel, the new folder name will only reflect the same name in the corresponding OneDrive sync client when the whole document library has been synced. When only the channel folder is synced, the new name will not be reflected in the OneDrive sync client. So make a note if you do want to see the name reflected changed in OneDrive when you sync it to your desktop, make sure you sync the entire document library, not just that folder. And the last item in teamwork is one of the things that I've been really excited for the team to put out because they've put a lot of great work and thinking across the teams. And by the end of my description about this item, you'll get a sense that it's going to save you a ton of time and bring you a lot of value that you may not have taken advantage of directly just yet. We're starting to roll out the Microsoft 365 connected templates. When you create a new team using a default template, for example, manage a project template, the project management channels and apps and the connected SharePoint template will get applied automatically, which means now the pages, lists, Power Platform integrations from SharePoint will automatically be pinned as tabs in Teams, and you can edit these pages and lists directly in Teams. The connected templates will offer a new way of combining Microsoft Teams templates with SharePoint templates in combination. Prior to this integration, clients or people out there that are deploying Teams teams needed to deploy Microsoft Teams or SharePoint specific templates. Now you do it together. That means Microsoft Teams templates allows you to easily deploy consistent teams across the organization using predefined and customized Teams templates. And with SharePoint, the template offers you to give a more standard approach to how you build out your sites with pre-populated pages, page templates, news post templates, and web parts that can be further customized to fit the organization. Through this integration, it brings all that together. Teams administrators can create templates that include SharePoint components, bringing together the capability of Teams and SharePoint for the end user creating the team in just one click. A lot of value connected, especially when you want to standardize how people create teams after team after team after team. So let us move on to related technology, things that are very near and dear to SharePoint, but maybe not SharePoint directly. First up is that the OneDrive sync for macOS will now run natively on Apple Silicon. This means that OneDrive will take full advantage of the performance improvements of Apple Silicon. I'm also thrilled to announce that the OneDrive team has rolled out another big feature that takes full advantage of these performance improvements, and it's now in public preview. That is the known folder move or the backup mechanism for OneDrive to your desktop, and specifically here, the Mac desktop. This implies that people using OneDrive on macOS Monterey 12 will be able to move their desktop and document folders to OneDrive. This way, people who continue to access the folders as they know and love on their desktop now can be more rest assured that their data is backed up and secure in Microsoft 365. And now that it's available for Mac, that means it's available for people using either PC and or Mac. great way to back up and taking advantage of the performance and speed that we're getting in this newest Apple Silicon. Next related item is the ability to pin or hide your own video in Teams meetings. So the Teams team has expanded the ability of what you do with your own video when you're in a meeting. Do you want to see it or do you not want to see it? And this is a way where you can hide things so that you can get a broader view of what's going on without either the added space of seeing your own video or just the ability to see your own video and reference it. So if you need to see what you look like and what you're doing, you can certainly have that choice to show your video. It's just a click away. When you go to the ellipses in your video feed, you either select pin for me or hide for me. Sort of like playing hide and seek with yourself, which of course can be hours of fun for the toddler in us all. For me, I like it so that I hide my video so I can focus on more of what's going on in the meeting, the other people, other content, the chat, and just have more room to have more of my attention spent, less on me, more on the content and the others in the meeting. Next up is just a really great blog that I want to highlight. If you're ever asking yourself what task management capabilities and apps are available to me in Microsoft 365, there's a really nice blog I'll link to in the blog for this particular episode that talks about tips for task management across Microsoft, specifically Microsoft 365. So this will really up-level what I think you'll find of what's available to you when you're using Microsoft 365. It really articulates the full Microsoft task management ecosystem, which includes Microsoft To Do, Microsoft Project, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft Loop. It's a great article that highlights 2 or 3 things per app. By the end of the blog, you're going to learn some new things and hope you'll gain some clarity on what Microsoft offers in this task management space. There's also a nice web page where you can go and learn more of all the different to-dos, more than just a few handful per each. And if you're looking to connect with other task managers and stay current, I would like to call your attention to the Planner Tech community site, where you can read about all the news and engage in the forums, ask questions, all that good stuff. All right. Time for the teasers. Time to close your eyes and visualize the future. The future that is just around the corner of all of our calendars. Here are 2 teasers for what's coming in March 2022. Teaser number 1, Shared Focus Plan in Viva Insights. This makes it so you can plan as a team when you want to focus together or have a common no meetings time of the week. More next week. Teaser number 2, create, manage, and edit Power Apps from lists in Teams. It's that last part that's the most important thing. This means that you stay within Microsoft Teams when going from a list to extend out to create a Power Apps app. There's a lot more to that one. More coming next week, and absolutely one of those things you're just going to have to try. Very cool combination and integration between Power Apps and lists, all with inside Teams. Maybe that's too much teasing. That will give you a little bit of a peek ahead of what's coming. More details will be shared for sure in the SharePoint Roadmap Pit Stop March 2022 edition. That's next month. We've added a lot more Learn links per feature, plus a list of important resources in the show notes and in the corresponding blog post on the Microsoft Tech community, published specifically to the SharePoint community blog. I hope that you've enjoyed this roadmap pit stop. Time to pump the brakes, time to relax knowing that you are all caught up. Now, if anything leaves you scratching your head with any open questions or concerns, please send us your thoughts and comments to theintrazone@microsoft.com. We are always here to put our and your best change management foot forward. I thank you for taking the step with us into the cloud month after month. And until next month, this is Mark Cashman saying walk tall and March 2022 on the roadmap ahead.